I enlisted at 18. The first lesson was that nothing happens in the Air Force in a hurry. It was nearly 2 years before the final posting to an operational squadron. We were a crew of 7. We were all very compatible, and we were destined for heavy bombers in our Air Bomber Command. Our first few months together in training enabled us to iron out any personal wrinkles. Today you'd call it bonding. When we arrived back at the station, this was on the afternoon, late afternoon of the 30th of March 1944, that date's important, everything was moving. Aircraft were taking off at 20-second intervals, and the whole area was full of 4-engine bombers, so we knew something big was going on. We didn't know what, though. Nobody had said anything. We had to wait till breakfast time next morning. We heard then, and from the newspapers early next morning, that the Bomber Command had suffered its biggest hammering ever. That on Nuremberg, it cost Bomber Command 95 shot down over Europe, and an undisclosed number crashed in England on landing in thick fog when they got home. We vowed, or resolved there and then, we'd never take any undue risks or chances. We now joined the grinding routine of what was to become our life for the next few months, flying half the night when the weather allowed to a different industrial city in Western Europe, Western Germany. We got to know them all by their first names. We were dodging around areas of searchlight and known areas of flak until usually when we got near the target area, way up ahead we'd see this brilliant flare in the sky. Now this was our pathfinders. They'd been ahead of us. They were just starting to mark our target for us. They'd got different coloured flares and we were told which colour to bomb. Usually about this time we were getting from about 5 to 10 minutes, 7 minutes away from the actual bombing, and there'd be suddenly switched on a forest of searchlights, so there'd be hundreds of them, and about that time again about 1,000 guns would open up, and for the next 10 to 20 minutes it was the nearest I've ever seen to madness. The rocking of the aircraft and the shells bursting around us, the captain pulling the aircraft out to dodge being covered by searchlights. Nothing was normal. Well, bombing was screaming up to keep the aircraft level so to decide his bombs up. He's got no chance to see. That's one reason why area bombing was used, because it was so hard to get a straight and level run on a precise target. Hence, we had this reputation for this area bombing in industrial cities, but it was the only way. You pick out an area that's all involved in industrial manufacturing for defence work anyway, so you wipe it out. So this was what we did for quite a few trips, Germany all the time. Then we started to find a few odd trips creeping into our program. At the end of March they had opened what they call a French railway campaign. This was quite obvious to us. That was in preparation for what they called those days the second front. And so the first front, of course, was in Russia. The second front, we knew it would be in France, we didn't know where or when, but they started this railway campaign. They were to wipe out major railway junctions and marshalling yards in the north of France. We had one or two of these French trips sneaking in between our German trips. We didn't mind them, we didn't get heavy flak, although we got just as many fighters, probably more, because when the Germans woke up what we were doing, they moved their main fighter force into northern France. We were getting a bit of a hard time from the fighters.
Would you be escorted by your own fighters?
No, we did have a few of our own night fighters in on my friend. You couldn't call them escorts, there weren't nearly enough of them. The Germans had a good night fighter force. They had copied on the British radar, and a lot of their night fighters were twin-engine Me-110s. They hadn't worked out so well as a bomber, but they became a very good night fighter. They were fast. They could carry radar equipment, and they could also carry 30mm gun facing upwards, fixed at an angle 30 degrees forward of vertical. Flying underneath us, I could see our exhaust, and they'd aim sort of between the exhausts and try and blow the tanks up, which they did quite successfully. Our worst trip among the German targets was Friedrichshafen. It was right down the south-east of Germany on Lake Constance, across the lake from Switzerland. Friedrichshafen had been a great place for the building of the old Zeppelins. And I'm using the old Zeppelin hangars these days to build high-level seaplanes. It was our job to knock out this particular factory. We found ourselves a bit off course and over Strasbourg. Strasbourg had quite a decent line with attack guns, big heavy 105mm guns. We found ourselves in the middle of this great barrage of 105mm shells. It was so sudden, it came like that, bang. And I was yelling out to the pilot to talk through the port. Then we'd get shells on either side of us. We'd go to port and we'd shell and land there. We'd go to starboard and we'd land there. We were dodging them very, very well, but not quite well enough. We don't know whether it was an actual direct hit or just a big piece of shell. It took the whole front of one engine off, starboard engine. A fragment from it with the engineer in the shoulder, quite badly. But he didn't say anything about it at the time. I was an air gunner, by the way. It put my turret out of action.
Where did you sit in the plane?
On this trip, not only was the mid-upper gunner, that's the top turret. Quite often I flew in the rear turret, but he did the rear gunner a bit of a break in the top because he got very, very cold. He was sitting in temperatures minus 35 to 40, you see, because he had the perspex out of his turret so that it didn't get splattered by oil. If you have a little spot on your turret and you think, well, it's a fighter coming in.
You don't want that.
No. We had this great barrage of aircraft fire, which we finally ran out of. We dodged around it and got away without too much damage. There were 150 odd holes in the aircraft altogether, but most of them were very small. Some were quite big, some were tiny little things. The turret was out. I picked up a piece of shrapnel in my scarf. It would come down through the top of the turret and hit the bit of armour plate that's in front of my chest, bounced back. Well, I thought something's hard there, and I thought it was a bit of ice or something, and it picked out this piece of shrapnel. I don't know what I put on there. It's lost forever, but that was a good souvenir. Well, we went and bombed Friedrichshafen and then came home, but we had to go right across France, the Channel, on 3 engines, with me winding my turret, and the engineer bleeding away. He eventually fainted and had to be looked after by the navigator with a few injections. The bomb owner helped the pilot land the aircraft. We had to land the aircraft at Tangier on the southern coast of Wheatley. We couldn't get back to our own drone, and we only had a capsule of gas with it. That one that had knocked out the front half of the engine had also cut the fuel line. Then things started to get better as we did more and more press trips, and finally, it's in mid-May. We weren't on it, but the squadron was on it. They sent out 17 from 460 to a place called Mailly, M-A-I-L-L-Y, in France, east of Paris, of course, in central France, the home of the 21st Panzer Division. The idea was to give this Panzer Division a bit of hurry up. They did so, but the master bomber who controlled the raid this time, he was pretty keen on spot accuracy. He kept the aircrew circling around in the dark, pitch black night, while he satisfied himself that the aiming the target indicator was spot on. And while they were circling around, quite a few collided. The night clubs got stuck in amongst it. They shot down a few. We lost 42 out of 322. That was the worst proportional loss the squadron ever had. D-Day was drawing close. We didn't know, of course. So they put us onto spot targets on the French coast, guns, radar, jamming stations, things like that. When I say spot target, it had to be spot on because it's no good dropping a bomb even 20 yards away from a great field gun. It's not good enough. We did our best with this spot bombing. We had the Pathfinder flares, of course, to aim on. But all of a sudden, on the 5th of June, 44, we were briefed to bomb 2 howitzer batteries. They were on the French coast, on the Normandy coast. And this was a black night too. It was quite overcast and drizzly. We did our bombing run, and I was able to see this one pretty well from the top turret. The bombs are so close together, I mean the big sticks go down right beside each other like that. And I thought nothing could survive down there. I started to think about the German gunners. I'd never worried about them before. I suddenly thought, what the hell is this buggers going? And on the way back across the channel, we saw what looked to me like a single row of breakers. You couldn't see what it was. This was the fluorescence, something disturbing the water. And the navigator could see a lot of little echoes. He said these weren't here before we came out. We were told that the second frontal act was speculated that what we had seen in the channel was the invasion fleet was going across town. And we worked out that we had bombed in behind Utah Beach. On Utah Beach, they landed 22,000 troops and only lost less than 200. And that was the best result for any landing on the Normandy beaches that day. And we decided that we had contributed to that because we knocked the batteries out. The batteries would have given them a hell of a time if they'd been flowing. Well, ironically, that was one of most historical importance, but it was the easiest. We could comfortably say that we kicked the invasion off because we were the first to bomb. Our bomber command was the first service to bomb, and we were the first in bomber command to bomb. We went on a few days leave after that D-Day job. Then when we came back, we heard that they were going to put us on a daylight trip. We were put on to bomb the harbour fittings and infrastructure at Le Havre. Now, Le Havre was the port for the E-boat fleet in the channel, and also they had a number of underground pens there for U-boats. We were able to bomb the the harbour installations. Well, the Dam Buster Squadron was going to drop their big 6,000 pounders in a display spot in the middle of the harbour to send a shockwave up into the underground, the underwater U-boat towers, you see. So off we went, almost at dusk. This is about 10:30, quarter to 11 at night, but it's still dusk, and the sun was still shining up there. We were fairly close to the front row here. I think I saw the first stick of bombs go down on the harbour, and it was straight along the harbour wall. No, I thought, that's bloody bombing for you. Yeah. When you can see your target, you can hit it. The E-boats were really knocked around. And the next day, we did the same again at Boulogne. On our way back from Boulogne, we'd seen a couple of these things flying along parallel to us, but they were much faster than we were, going like hell underneath us, and they were sending out this intermittent jet behind them, you see. They must have been a good 150 knots faster than we were. We were told that now we've got these things to contend with, it's your job to bomb their bases if we can find them. We were still doing the railway bombings. They were mostly at night. They were in fairly large towns, but doing the flying bomb bases in the daytime. The V1s, doodle bugs as they call them. We certainly cut down the number of flying bombs that hit London by knocking out their bases. The fighters were waiting for the flying bombs above one in the air, tipping them over. They get their wing under the thing and tip it over, it'll go down to the country. Very good job there.
It's an amazing piece of flying to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, dangerous too. We sort of finished our tour on that note, alternating between flying bomb bases and railway stations, and then towards the end of it, we started to do raids on oil refineries. Our last trip, that was in early August of 44, was a big oil refinery right down the southwest of France near Bordeaux, and I've never seen one go up like it. It was a beauty. We were, I think, about fourth bomb, so we had a really good front view. There was a bloke, it was a rowing boat. He was pulled me across the river, going like him to gate the bombing, of course. All the crew photographs that came in showed him a bit further across and a bit further across, and he eventually made it. But I've never seen a refinery or anything else like a packet of crackers, you know.
With the end of the tour, was it a number of missions you did, or a set period of time?
No, we had 30 missions, and I did just 30. I came back to Australia. I arrived home on my 21st birthday, which was very good. So I was up here in Sandgate for a couple of months. I was given a job working in one of the intelligence bases in town here. This was to do with arranging supplies of escape material for our Air Force people in the Isles. I made sure that I had a good supply of it, escape material. I'd applied to go back on the second tour, and they sent me down to East Sale. That was the main bomber base for crews to go north. And I was there to pick up a crew and train with them there, and then we would eventually go up to Gove in the Northern Territory and operate along the south coast of New Guinea. Well, the war finished before I got away to go. So that was the end of my flying career too, down there. So instead I met a little whack on the station, she's sitting out here now. And got married in the following year. And so that sort of kept me busy until I was sent home to be discharged in January 46.
Where were you based from the Met Bay?
East Sale in Victoria.
What did you do after the war?
As I told you, I'd become very interested in Met. So I had been in the Commonwealth Public Service before I enlisted as a clerk. When I came home, I went back to that initially. And then I applied to the Met Service, and I was given a job there to be trained as a Met observer, and I stayed there for 15 years. And while I was there, I got myself elected a fellow of the Royal Meteorological Society, and I undertook an economics degree, and then got myself a job in the state government. I retired in '86.
When you were in the Bomber Command, how often would you do missions?
Depended on the weather. In continually good weather, if we did 2 nights on, we'd get one off. That was pretty rough too. I mean, when you got back to your briefing, you were just completely shagged out. I'd give us a run at briefing.
A rum?
Yeah, the party we had him to run out. My role I felt didn't like rum, so I said, well, I'll drink yours for your loss just as a personal favour. And he said, well, fair enough. That's why I learned to drink rum. The idea of that was to loosen you up. You'd be quite taut in the dawn when you went into your briefing, but after a rum or two, you'd loosen up, you see, and the intelligence officer would be asking you all sorts of questions. You'd answer more freely then. You put your parachute away, and you're flying there. You'd go straight from there at the briefing room, and the door on the way in the party, there with these little females of rum down there. Most intelligence officers were female. They were all university graduates, pretty intelligent sort of women. They'd ask us questions as to where we were when we saw this and what we were doing when we saw that.
When did you grow up?
Yeah, I'm a fourth generation of Brisbane. I went to Number State School and Eagle Junction State School before going on to Brisbane Grammar.
Family? You have kids?
Yes, I've got 3 kids, two girls and a boy. I've got 7 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren.